All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Powell Fabrication. In this video, I want to get into what will the 2KW Fiber Saber actually cut? Is it ideal for your shop? I can't tell you that. You guys are going to have to be the judge of that, but try to give you some information here to where you can make that decision essentially. So on our Fiber Saber, they are marketing 5/8 and down. We've only cut up to 1/2 inch. I would honestly say 1/2 inch is probably the max that you want to cut on semi-production rounds. Once you get into 1/2 inch, the travel speed is slow and the gas consumption is horrendous once you get on that. So really, I think 1/2 inch is probably the max that you want to be messing with. Like I said in other videos, we're going to try to experiment a little bit with compressed air. It might take a little bit longer, but try to weigh out the pros and cons of kilowatt hours versus the gas consumption price, and driving and getting it delivered, whatever that may be. So to give you a little bit of reference on consumption, so we cut out 3/8 plate the other day, punch plates. This punch plate was 60 inches by 48 inches. It had a 2-inch staggered square pattern in it, and it cut 2 of those plates out. It cut for roughly 4 hours, and we used up somewhere around 1,000 to 1,100 pounds out of a 250 cylinder of oxygen. The next day we cut, which was yesterday, it was 4 punch plates out of some 1/4 inch material. It ran for about 6 hours on those, 5.5 to 6 hours, and it used about 600 pounds out of a 300 bottle. So you can pretty well just figure 100 pounds per hour that you run on 1/4 inch. That seems to be where we're at on gas consumption wise. It's not super expensive at that rate. The cut quality is really great. You don't have to worry about your secondary cleanup and all that. So, marketably, it's really good. You don't have to worry about, a super high gas bill on 1/4 inch or 3/8. Again, once you get into 1/2 inch, that's where your gas consumption comes up. It takes so long to pierce through that plate, and then your travel speed is really slow on 1/2 inch. We are cutting AR 400 plate, so that does need to be noted. Maybe it's a little bit better on A36, but our trials on the little bit of A36, it's not a lot different. So everybody's going to tell you, in my experience talking to people, oh my gosh, you just bought a 2KW. Why in the world did you just waste the money on a 2KW? I just told you the cut qualities on a 2KW. It's not just your sheet metal cutter, your sign cutter or whatever that a lot of people are probably going to give you crap for because you bought a baby machine. I bought this machine because I didn't really want to screw with everything over 1/2 inch. It's heavy, it's gnarly. It cost a crap ton to get a sheet of anything else in. You start getting into 5/8 or 9/16 and up, it gets really expensive. And unless you're cutting full sheets at a time, for us, it's not profitable. A lot of guys are going to want you to charge by the square foot. I'm not that way. I don't do that. If I use 60% of a sheet for a job, it gets charged to the job. So, and I don't need a buttload of, 1-inch plate laying around or 3/4 plate laying around. I think I've bought 1 sheet of 3/4 plate the entire time I've been in business, and that was for a road cover. I've never used it since. The sheet is still laying on my material rack. It's just taking up space. It's getting rusty. It's getting dirty. There's no need for us personally to get into that. We're a 2-man band. We can make plenty of money with the 2KW and do plenty of stuff. Another thing that I said in other videos, something to take into consideration, say you buy a big machine, but your press brake will only break 1/4 inch, or your press brake will only break, 3/8, whatever it may be. You really got to take that kind of information into consideration. You buy a huge machine and you can't do your forming work with it. You got to, I call it horn it out. You got to take that to other shops and have them do it. It doesn't make a lot of sense for me personally. The 6KW is another, $50,000-$60,000. And then you talk about press brakes. We just bought a press brake for about $60,000. You go up to the next size, you're talking $120,000. So you have a huge investment in trying to go to the next step. Maybe worth it to you. It wasn't worth it to us. So yeah, no, this machine is not going to do your 1-inch plate cutting, in my opinion. Not good, not economically. Power should match your business model. That speaks for itself right there. If you're a job shop like us doing 3/8 and under, this is your machine all day. I want to talk a little bit about what we do cut quality wise, or cutting wise rather, before I go ahead and jump on over, show you the cut qualities and videos of the damn thing actually cutting, because you may not have seen any of those yet. So what we primarily do here in the shop is carbon plate, A36 plate. We do a lot of A400 plate, AR400 plate, sorry, for punch plates and things of that nature. On this channel, you're not going to see a lot of stainless. I have messed with some stainless on the machine. I wasn't real happy with it, if you will. It cut just fine, but the gas consumption side of it it blew me away. With that being said, let's just go ahead and jump right on over into the cut side. I'll show you the cutting, show you our cut parameters. Nobody out there wants to show that stuff. I don't know why, but hopefully you can get a decent gist off of maybe 14 gauge settings or 3/16, you know, whatever. But let's go ahead and jump on in, do some cutting here.
We'll go ahead and get started with some 14 gauge. It's not our most common material to cut, but it cuts like butter. I mean, there's really not much to it. I do think we have a little bit of room to improve our settings here, but like I said, it's just not too often that we mess with it, so it hasn't been that important to us. Eighth inch is about as thin as we usually run in production. We've spent a little bit more time on our parameters getting it dialed in, and we can set a sheet in, let it run all day, cut out, you know, a few hundred parts and not have any issues with it. So on 3/16, you'll notice that our cut speed's about the same with a little bit less gas pressure. And to be honest, guys, I just now found that out. So tune in for the future video when we figure out why that's doing that and why it still works. Coming over from the plasma, this is probably the most noticeable difference. The cuts are super quick and super clean, so it's really a pleasure to work with. Moving over to the 1/4 inch, this is what's most often on the table. It runs great, really good quality. There's no dross or any secondary processing that needs to be done, but it is the first place with the 2 kilowatt laser that we start to notice some striations. They're very minimal and don't affect performance, but cosmetically you can't see them. One thing that I do want you guys to know, these parameters are all going to be a little bit different for each machine and each environment. Really, this is just what's working for us, and hopefully it'll give you a starting point, but you will have to do some experimentation on your own. We appreciate you guys watching and look forward to seeing you next time.